Hi, this is Robert Chisholm from Chisholm Kilpatrick, and we're here with Brad Hennings, and this is part of our team. So, Brad, you've recently joined us here at Chisholm Kilpatrick. How long have you been with us now?
Since January, about mid-January.
And what are you doing here at Chisholm Kilpatrick?
Well, I'm doing a little bit of everything. I'm working both on the court team, which handles appeals at the Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims, and I'm trying to help out on the agency side, the Department of Veterans Affairs, and anywhere else the firm feels like they can use some of my knowledge.
So before joining us, you were working at the Board of Veterans Appeals.
Yes, so at the Board of Veterans Appeals, I was a veterans law judge or a board member. And what I did there was make final decisions on behalf of the Secretary for VA disability benefits, or typically disability benefits. And I was the one signing the decisions. I was holding hearings and working with attorney staff to decide these cases.
And so the Board of Veterans Appeals is the last stop a case has at the agency level.
That's right. So if you were a veteran applying for benefits, you'd typically start at the regional office, and if they said no, you'd enter the appeal process. And without going into all of that, the end of the appeal process at VA itself is the Board of Veterans Appeals.
Okay. And how long were you in that position?
So I was a veterans law judge for about 3.5 years at the board.
And that's actually a presidential appointment, is it not?
It is. It's a secretarial appointment. So the secretary appoints me, but it's with the approval of the president. So they make you talk to somebody from the White House and go through a certain degree of vetting.
Okay. And when you refer to the secretary, you're talking about the Secretary of Veterans Affairs, correct?
Yes. Okay.
And so you also, before working at the board, you were at the court.
That's right. So I worked as an attorney law clerk for Judge Alan Lance of the Court of Appeals for Veterans Claims, and I was there about 2.5 years working for him.
Okay. And the court is the court that actually reviews the final board decisions.
Yes.
So you've been on kind of a couple of different sides of the equation now.
Yeah, I think it's been really interesting because I've gotten to see it definitely from a number of different perspectives.
So you've seen it from handling the cases at the board, actually deciding the cases. You've seen how the court reviews cases, and now you're working as an advocate on behalf of veterans.
That's right.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about your educational background. Where did you go to college?
So I went to college at George Washington University in Washington, D.C., and I majored in history there. After college, after college, I later got a master's degree in information systems from Stevens Institute of Technology, and then I went to law school at Rutgers School of Law in Newark, New Jersey.
And so can you explain what a master's in information systems means?
Sure. After college, I didn't go to law school right after college, so I was working for about 6 years in IT, information technology. Mm-hmm. And so information systems, it was really about how do you manage information within organizations. And so I spent a lot of time working on ways of structuring what we think of as software to be helpful to make decisions and operate organizations.
Okay. And what inspired you to go on to law school?
So law school was something I thought about when I was an undergrad, but graduating at 21 or 22, I really had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. And so I decided that at that time, law school was not a good choice because I didn't want it to be a default option. So I went to work. And then eventually I figured out, in particular with the passing of my grandfather, who was an inspiration to me and a World War II veteran, he had told me that, hey, listen, at the end of his life, he said, I've had a good life. I don't have any regrets. And that really struck me as, hey, I want to be able to say that when the time comes for me. And so I was working in IT at that point and said, I don't love this. So I looked into going to law school and talked to a lot of people and started that process.
Okay. And when you graduated from law school, where did you first work?
So when I first graduated from law school, I clerked for a New Jersey State Court judge, Judge Palafroni, who's currently the presiding judge of the Civil Division in Bergen County, New Jersey. So I did that for a year.
Mm-hmm. And you eventually ended up working for the board as a board attorney before you went over to the court, correct?
That's right. I worked briefly in private practice in New Jersey, and then I went to the Board of Veterans Appeals in Washington, D.C. as a staff attorney initially.
So how much time have you worked collectively in the world, in the VA world, let's put it that way?
So collectively in the VA world, I've worked 10 years, been in it about 10 years.
Okay. And you were living in D.C., and you're planning to move up here soon?
Yes, I have an apartment right now, and my family is planning on joining me at the end of the school year. We actually just put our house on the market in D.C. area, so.
Well, it's great to have you here. So tell me about some of your hobbies. I understand music might be a hobby of yours.
Yes, I wish I got more time to do it. As you know, as you get older with children, and I have 2 children, it gets more difficult. But my hobby growing up and to now has always been music. I play the piano and saxophone and the guitar. I also play some drums and know how to use sequencers and recording equipment. So that's when I really need to relieve stress or just want to get away from things. That's how I do that.
Well, Brad, thanks for joining us this morning. Anything else you want to say before we finish up that I've missed?
No, just that I'm really excited to be a part of the firm, and I'm excited to continue to work on behalf of veterans.
Well, we're happy to have you, and thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks, Robert.